Ash, if you only watch one Star Trek episode in your entire life, make it this one. Star Trek is a universe spanning over half a century, 12 TV series, and hundreds of episodes, all boldly going where no franchise has gone before. Choosing just one episode to represent its legacy seems impossible, a disservice to its complexity, diversity, and vision. Yet, if you were to watch only one Star Trek episode in your entire life, it should be The Inner Light from Star Trek: The Next Generation. Why this one? Because The Inner Light captures everything Star Trek stands for: exploration, humanity, empathy, and the profound connection between memory and legacy. It transcends genre. It doesn't rely on technobabble or warp core malfunctions. It isn't about defeating a villain or escaping a temporal anomaly. It's about one man living an entire life in the span of 20 minutes, and in doing so, touching the infinite. Let's break down why The Inner Light Season 5, Episode 25 deserves to be the Star Trek episode you watch, even if you've never seen another minute of the franchise. A story outside time and space. In The Inner Light, Captain Jean-Luc Picard is struck unconscious by an alien probe. While his crew tries to revive him, Picard wakes up on a completely different planet, surrounded by people who claim he's not a starship captain, but a man named Cameron. At first, Picard resists this new identity. He clings to his memories of the Enterprise, insisting he's Captain Picard. But as days stretch into years, he slowly adapts to life on the planet Catan. He marries, raises children, learns to play the flute, and becomes a community leader. He ages. Decades pass. Eventually, Cameron witnesses his adopted planet's final fate, a drought-ridden world doomed to die. The alien probe, he learns, was launched by the people of Catan to preserve the memory of their civilization. It wasn't a weapon, it was a time capsule. And Picard, unknowingly, had been chosen to carry their story forward. When he wakes up back on the Enterprise, only 25 minutes have passed. But in his mind, a lifetime has been lived. The emotional heart of Star Trek. Star Trek is often remembered for its futuristic gadgets and galactic diplomacy, but at its core, it's about human experience. The Inner Light is not a tale of alien warlords or interstellar conflicts. It's a meditation on identity, memory, and empathy. This episode distills Gene Roddenberry's original vision, that the final frontier is not only out there among the stars, but also within ourselves. Picard's journey isn't about saving the galaxy, it's about understanding what it means to live a full, rich life, even if it's not your own. The power of the inner light lies in its emotional intimacy. Watching Picard plant a tree with his daughter, argue lovingly with his wife, and look up at the sky hoping for rain, these are the moments that transcend sci-fi. You don't have to be a Trekkie to feel the heartbreak when he finally understands that everything he knew in that world is gone, and that it was never real. Or was it? A performance that defines a legacy. If you've never seen The Next Generation, this episode is still instantly accessible, largely because of Sir Patrick Stewart's stunning performance. As Captain Picard, Stewart was always the embodiment of leadership, wisdom, and control. But here we see him as something else: vulnerable, confused, humbled by time and love. Stewart ages gracefully through the episode, not just with makeup, but with the weight of years in his eyes and posture. He makes Cameron real, a man whose life we come to care about as deeply as the captain we thought we knew. In just 45 minutes, Stewart guides viewers through a complete emotional arc, from confusion to resistance, from acceptance to heartbreak. It's one of the finest performances in the history of television, science fiction or otherwise. The flute that echoes forever. One of the most quietly iconic moments in Star Trek happens in this episode, and it involves a simple flute. During his life as Cameron, Picard learns to play a kind of folk flute, taught to him by his wife and cherished by his children. Music becomes a core part of his identity, something that brings joy and peace as his world withers. When he awakens on the Enterprise and finds the probe has left the flute behind, he opens the case, sees the instrument, and begins to cry. It's one of the most emotionally devastating endings of any episode. No words, just memory and music. And that flute? It appears again years later in another episode, a quiet reminder that Picard still carries Cameron within him. It's a poetic echo, memory surviving time. A civilization remembered. At the heart of the inner light is a bold idea. What happens when a civilization is doomed? How do they make sure they are not forgotten? The people of Catan didn't build a weapon or escape into space. They created a message, a lived memory, to implant in another's consciousness. It's a deeply Star Trek notion. Preservation not through dominance or survival, but through shared experience. Their culture lives on not through conquest, but through empathy. Picard didn't just observe their culture, he became it. And in doing so, he became the living archive of an entire world's existence. That's more powerful than any phaser blast. A standalone masterpiece. One of the greatest strengths of the Inner Light is its accessibility. You don't need to know anything about Starfleet, Klingons, warp drives, or the Prime Directive to understand this story. It works as a standalone science fiction tale, elegant, haunting, unforgettable. Yes, if you're a Star Trek fan, the episode resonates on more levels. You understand what it means for Picard to be removed from command. You recognize how rare it is for him to be emotionally vulnerable. And you grasp the implications when he returns to duty carrying an entire lifetime of experience, unseen by his crew. But even for the uninitiated, the Inner Light is a masterpiece of emotional storytelling. It's not just good for Star Trek. It's simply one of the finest episodes of television ever made. The universal message: in an era of noise and spectacle, the Inner Light whispers. It doesn't try to impress with scale or stakes. Instead, it focuses on the quiet, precious moments that define a life. It asks you to consider, what makes a life real? Is it memory? Is it love? Is it the impact we leave behind? If you lived a lifetime in a dream, would it matter less? Picard carries the memories of Cameron forever. So do we. This is where Star Trek becomes universal. It's no longer about future tech, alien diplomacy, or space battles. It's about us, about how we remember, how we mourn, how we carry the past forward, even when everything is gone. For the one-time viewer, if you've never seen Star Trek, The Inner Light is the perfect place to begin, even if it's also where you end. It distills the essence of what makes the franchise great: storytelling rooted in humanity, infused with science fiction, only to ask bigger questions about life, love, time, and memory. No franchise has mastered the art of the philosophical gut punch quite like Star Trek, and this episode is its crown jewel. It lingers. It echoes. It humbles. For longtime fans, The Inner Light is a reminder that Star Trek is not defined by phasers or photon torpedoes. It's defined by moments like these: a captain lost in a life not his own, coming to love a world that will never return. It's why we watch. Not just to see strange new worlds, but to feel something, to understand ourselves and others a little better. Final thought: one life, remembered. In the end, The Inner Light asks a powerful question: what does it mean to be remembered? The people of Catan found their answer. They lived on, not in monuments, but in one man's heart. And through Star Trek, they live on in ours too. So if you only watch one episode, make it this one. Not because it's the most famous or the most action-packed, but because it might just change the way you think about time, memory, and what it means to be alive.